listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Starcom Radio Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and Radio X. If you'd like to send an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365, as well as the live broadcast Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight at www.xzoneradiotv.com. And for all the archives and all the shows that you've missed, they're now available at xzonepodcast.com. My guest this hour is Mark Allan Keyes. He was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania. His interest in the paranormal began in his teenage years when he had what he believes may have been a paranormal experience. Mark graduated from Wilkes University in 1992 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology and is currently a full-time, state police criminal investigator with 21 years plus experience as a state trooper. In 2007, Mark and his wife Lauren founded the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association, a resolution-based paranormal group to study paranormal phenomenon and help resolve hauntings for clients. Mark has been featured as a recurring guest on Destination America's The Haunted with his team and is the author of a new book entitled Chasing Shadows, a criminal investigator's look into the paranormal. The book is available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Rowe Publishing. Mark Allan Keyes, welcome to the X-Zone.
Hey, Rob. Great to be here.
Great talking to you, my friend. Listen, a lot of respect for law enforcement guys. Congratulations on your work.
Oh, well, thank you. I understand you used to be a police officer years ago, and I thank you for your service.
Oh, there you go. Hey, thank you again, sir. Listen, Mark, what was it that got you on your quest into the paranormal?
Well, it was a long string of events, if you will. I had a very small event happen to me when I was about 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was out in my backyard in a very rural area of Pennsylvania, and I was cutting grass. Nobody was home. I thought I was by myself, and very loud and clear, I heard somebody call my name. And it startled me because I didn't realize anybody was with me there. So I turned around to see who wanted what, and there was nobody there. So at that point, I didn't know if I was going crazy. Was I just hearing things? The last thing I thought of was, maybe there was a ghost following me, but I thought, could it be? Could it be a psychic experience? I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on, I just sort of forgot about it, and got an interest because of it, though. I became interested in anything supernatural, UFOs, psychic mediums, hauntings, and I read a lot about it. So flash forward a couple years, I'm homesick from school,
Mm-hmm.
Laying on my couch. I was a child of a single parent, so I'm home alone. My doors are locked, and watching TV, doing one of my favorite things. So once again, I hear my name loud and clear called, and it scared the heck out of me, to be honest with you. And then I knew something a little more was going on than me just hearing things. several years before, and that sort of really jump-started my interest in hauntings and psychic mediums and anything that had to do with the paranormal. So as time went on, I got into psychology and wanted to know how the mind worked and how that connected into parapsychology and psychic ability. And to be honest, when all these shows came out, and including a great one called Sightings years ago.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
One of my favorite shows. I wanted to believe everything that I was seeing and hearing, but something still in the back of my head just wasn't making it real for me. I was one of those people who were open to the possibility, I think, that hauntings existed, but not really ready to make the leap yet to believe wholeheartedly that it was possible. So as time went on, I said to my wife, I have to go and implant myself into these locations where people are reporting hauntings and find out for myself.
So what was it that turned you from a skeptic to a believer? I mean, police officers, we're not known for our belief in anything without seeing evidence. What was it that swayed you?
Well, it was a pretty long time of just having small experiences building into larger experiences, I guess. Honestly, when we started our group, I wasn't sure yet whether to believe in ghosts or not, but we wanted to start a resolution group. My wife and I had belonged to a local team that was very technical. They were very good at going out and trying to document evidence.
Right.
But during that, I found that there were a lot of people who were really sincerely scared, and they wanted the activity stopped. They weren't concerned with evidence. They wanted the activity just gone. So as time went on, my wife and I decided to leave that team and go and create our own, which was a resolution group. And I had some ideas of getting resources together where we'd be able to work with people to try to stop these hauntings, and I wanted to see if that was possible. And over time, I found the very best way was to work with psychic mediums to be able to do that. And it just sort of grew and grew, where we started getting a lot of cases, and I saw a lot of physical activity taking place. We work with a historical researcher who will go out and try to put the names of the people our psychic medium comes up with at the property and validate all the information that she comes up with. So I think it was just, time. Time made me a believer, I guess, is the best way to put it. And, I've had some really incredible experiences along the way, but it took a long time to get me there.
Can you share some of your experiences with us?
Well, sure. I think one of the most prominent that I had was in a town called Upper Darby, and that's right outside of Philadelphia City in northeastern part of the United States. And this is probably the single home that solidified paranormal activity for me. In fact, when we first got the request from the clients to go out and help them, their reports were so extreme that I wasn't sure to believe them or not. I felt that they might be exaggerating a little bit. So we did a pretty in-depth interview with them and determined that they seemed to be very sincere in what they were telling us. And they were reporting a few things that I wasn't quite sure about. That they had very heavy iron chairs that they claimed when they went to bed, they'd come down in the morning and quite often would find these chairs neatly piled up on top of their table with napkins placed on the chairs. And the most significant thing that stood out for me was they had an infant who they claim was removed from its crib and put in a bedroom, 2 doors down, which is kind of creepy, but I wasn't sure whether to believe that or not. So when we got to the home, one of the first things that we wanted to do was remove everybody. They said when they would leave and come home, things would be thrown all over the house, things pulled out of the refrigerator onto the floor, things knocked off shelves. So we set up a lot of monitoring equipment, audio, video, and we left. And we came back in about an hour, and at that time we didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. But when we had gone back and reviewed all of the audio recordings that we had done, it sounded like a circus in there. You could hear footsteps up and down the stairs. You could hear the little squeaks of their dresser drawer handles.
Oh, my gosh.
Clanking. You could hear things being thrown into walls in the house. There were reporting quarters being thrown in various rooms of the home. And we recorded that. In fact, we were able to find that on our video cameras with nobody in the home. A quarter came flying across the room and hit the chair and dropped onto the floor. So that was just the start of the investigation. During the time we spent there, and we were there a total of 3 different times, I had witnessed a shadow figure come on camera in a floor that nobody was on. It went into a room and then quickly took off. We had seen doors open and close several times during the night, quarters just dropping out of thin air, and voices and light anomalies, just an incredible amount of activity happening at the home. So I would say that was probably the most significant home that I've ever been to that I was able to witness physical activity.
Wow. What is the difference between a paranormal team and a paranormal resolutions team?
Well, I think most people are used to seeing what we'll call ghost hunters from television, teams that will go out, and they are looking for proof of haunting, proof of ghosts. They're trying to technically document activity. And, they're commonly called ghost hunters. Other teams are called paranormal investigators. They're not necessarily looking for ghosts, but they are looking for the cause of the activity. My team sort of falls into that category where we consider ourselves paranormal investigators, where we are going out looking for the cause of the activity, but at the same time, our goal is to resolve the issues for clients. We take a sort of psychological and social look at what's happening in a home, and we're trying to find out why the haunting started, who would be there, why are they causing a specific type of activity, and what do we have to do to get them out of there. So our goal is to work for clients who are not comfortable with that type of activity and work with the psychic medium, try to identify who's there, and then the ultimate goal is to get them out.
Let me ask you this. What, in your opinion, is more frightening, dealing with violent criminals or with the death? Or with the dead, I should say.
Well, that's a great question that I get asked all the time. We do a lot of lectures.
Right.
And I have to say, hands down, working with the living is far scarier than anything I've ever experienced out on a paranormal case. I've seen, unfortunately, the worst in people, just horrific acts that one human could do to another or do to themselves. And I've had guns pulled on me, knives pulled on me. I've been run over by a car and just seen extreme violence targeted towards people. And there's nothing that I have seen in the paranormal world that even comes close to what the living will do to the living.
Isn't that the truth? Tell me, do you ever use police resources on paranormal investigations, for example, search dogs, forensic services?
You know, I've had the opportunity to have some very great experiences using resources that we pull from our law enforcement experience. I was lucky enough to have a member of our team come from Maryland, and he was a canine police officer there. And his dog was injured, so the dog had to be put out of service as a police dog, but we adapted him to work on paranormal investigations, and it was a perfect dog to work with because he was used to going into strange places. That was playtime for him.
Right.
And he had very specific indicators for different activities or different things he's looking for. Just as an example, if there was a suspect, let's say, behind a door that was closed, he would go and sit in front of the door and look at his handler. That was his indicator. So we used a lot of indicators for the dog to try to adapt that to paranormal investigations, and that worked out fantastic with the reactions we were getting from him. And we had another case where there was a haunting in upstate New York, and it was at a ski resort type of inn, and the people had a very rotten smell that kept recurring in one of the hotel rooms there, and they thought they may have a rotting corpse in there. There were rumors that there was a murder there years ago. They couldn't confirm that. They kept getting this rotten smell in the room. They gutted the whole entire thing right down to the studs. They ripped up the floor, the roof, the walls, and completely remodeled it, and the smell kept coming back. So they called us in because of that and some other activity that they were having there that mimicked haunting. So we went in there, and I thought the best way to rule out a corpse ever being in the room is to bring a cadaver dog team in.
Yeah.
So we brought 3 dogs in, 2 cadaver dogs and 1 control dog, and the 2 cadaver dogs were run through independently, and sure enough, both of them hit on the same exact room in the same exact corner, indicating that to their handlers that they believed the body was there at some point in time. And then they ran their control dog through, and that dog does not pick up on the proteins that a cadaver dog would. That dog showed no interest in the room whatsoever, so that was a really great experience that we had with dogs. And I had another really amazing experience using our psychic medium. We did a home where backyard backed up to a graveyard. And over time, the boundary lines had changed, and the property was sold several times. Our psychic was picking up that she felt there were several graves right in their backyard, literally 15, 20 feet away from the house. And this was an area that they went out and partied in and played in. Mm-hmm. So we thought it would be great to try to confirm that. So we brought in a ground-penetrating radar team that we've, called through law enforcement before. And we were able to confirm that, sure enough, there were graves in this family's backyard. So, we really have a lot of resources that we could pull from the law enforcement community that can help out on paranormal investigations.
You've got a degree in psychology. Do you use your degree while doing the paranormal investigations as well as when you're, donning your other hat as a law enforcement officer?
Yeah, I use that all the time, right from the start of the investigation. I found it quite interesting the way people react on cases. There were some people who couldn't get enough of a haunting, but yet some people experiencing the same type of activity were ready to burn their house down and move to a different country.
Right.
And it was quite a difference of reaction. So I started looking at the clients and the type of activity that was happening and trying to understand where that came from. And I think a lot of it comes from a person's faith in a religion and their beliefs growing up, what they've been taught. Mm-hmm. And television shows and Hollywood movies, I think, really program a person's reaction when they first experience this stuff from the very beginning. A lot of people, especially if they have kids, they think they're in danger and that their kids are somehow in danger just because they're experiencing physical activity, and that's not always the case. But people are so programmed by what they see that's where their mind goes very quick. But I was also noticing a pattern with a lot of the clients where they seem to, it's almost a form of post-traumatic stress that they get. They will have a very legitimate experience or perceived experience that they have a ghost or a haunting going on there. Something really makes an initial impact, and their mind is instantly conditioned to believe they have a ghost there. So after that, every little odd occurrence in the house becomes the ghost did it. So I dubbed that the ghost effect. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's like a type of post-traumatic stress where they are so focused now on thinking the house is haunted. Every little incident becomes the ghost did it. And it's something we go in as a resolution team and try to untangle for them. So we try to separate the normal from the paranormal. So if they're experiencing a few odd things that we're able to come up with realistic explanations for, that when they happen, we could tell the people, just ignore this stuff here. We're going to concentrate on all this other stuff over here that may be paranormal.
Right.
But a lot of people go through this process of almost programming themselves to think every event happens because of a ghost. And I've also seen this with investigators and my own investigators when we go out, if they have a very prominent experience, then their senses are heightened, and now they're looking at everything, and any little thing happens, now they're assuming, okay, the ghost is doing that too. So we have to really take a very objective look at every little incident individually and pick it apart, make sure it's paranormal or put it over in the normal category, and kind of ground ourselves and watch each other and really take an objective look, like I said, at what's going on there.
Mark, you and I have to take a brief break at the bottom of the hour for our network news. Please stand by. Great talking to you. And Exo Nation, if you would like to find out more about Mark Allan Keyes and the great work he does, his website, www.theppa.net. That's www.theppa.net. And we'll be back on the other side of this short break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, Exo Nation, if you're away from your computer, if you're away from any handheld device, but you have access to a telephone, the old kind that plugs into the wall, not the wireless kind, you can give us a call and listen to us 724-365 at 213-401-0080. Once again, that is area code 213-401-0080. The X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. We come to you Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Digital Broadcast Network, oh my gosh, Sirius Satellite Network, Angel Broadcast Network, TNA Broadcast Network, and that's just to name a few. And we're also in Europe on Radio X. We'll be back. Don't go away. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. And welcome back, everyone. Mark Allan Keyes is my very special guest this hour. He's got a new book out entitled Chasing Shadows, A Criminal Investigator's Look into the Paranormal. And his book is available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Rowe Publishing. His website, www.theppa.net. That's www.theppa.net. Welcome back, Mark. Thanks very much for taking time out of your schedule to join us tonight here on the X Zone.
Oh, thank you, Rob. It's great to be here.
Hey, I have to ask you something. Is there really enough evidence collected by paranormal investigators to stand up in a criminal or even civil court case?
Well, it's a great question, and I do talk about that a little bit in my book. And one thing that I sort of take a look at is beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's typically what law enforcement deals with. And when you go into a criminal court hearing, you're looking for witness testimony backed up by physical evidence.
Right.
And the witness testimony is there. There's a lot of credible people that are out there having experiences, but the tough part is to get the physical evidence to back that up. And it's slowly coming, I do believe. And just like your last guest, there's a lot of great equipment coming out that's able to document, if nothing else, environmental changes that happen. But the hardcore proof that some people are looking for, and I think your non-believers are never going to really bite into it, no matter what you present. But we're getting there as far as the physical evidence. And one thing that I've found interesting, my wife used to be a realtor, and there's a lot of states coming out now within the United States that have it in their paperwork that you have to disclose if you are selling a house that you believe your house is haunted, and that's a legal document. So that's a big step for a lot of states to require that be put into your paperwork. So I think that's really great. But the other thing that I took a look at was preponderance of the evidence. And if anybody's gone through a civil court hearing, that is what people look at in the civil side. It's for people who don't know what it is, it's basically just enough evidence to make it more likely than not that the fact you're trying to prove is true. And if you look at that, a lot of that can be based on witness testimony. And when you look at who is experiencing hauntings, there's no one social group. We've dealt with people who lived in tiny little house trailers, mobile homes, all the way up to big mansions. We've dealt with business professionals, doctors, dentists, police officers. We've gone to community buildings, government buildings, and there's this wide variety of people from all different backgrounds that are experiencing hauntings. And when you bring them into court, you can show that they are very credible people. And when you go back and look at the witness list, you would have to go back thousands of years. And what's interesting is that as a planet, we're becoming more technically advanced and more educated. And with that, we should be finding different reasons of why people are misperceiving hauntings, if that were the case. But just the opposite seems to be happening. The more intelligent we get, the more people seem to be reporting hauntings than ever before. So when you take all of these witnesses, I don't think you can possibly get something through a criminal court case yet, but I think there's enough evidence out there from all the different paranormal groups, and some of the evidence is extremely good. Some of it's questionable, but when you back up that evidence with all the witnesses, probably millions of witnesses over thousands of years, you could probably prove in a civil court case that there's a preponderance of evidence that hauntings do exist.
During your investigations into the paranormal, have you noticed a common thread between all the people who are experiencing these paranormal events?
Yeah, and again, I think that goes back to the ghost effect that I was talking about. One thing that I noticed was, they were all jumping right to the conclusion that every piece of activity was caused by a ghost, and it's a big hurdle to overcome. And there's so many great things that came out of all the paranormal shows that are on television. For those people who were once afraid to ask for help or report that their house was haunted, now I think they're more likely to come out and report that. It's a very tough thing to do, but
sure.
At the same time, it's also making people think a little bit outside the bounds of reality sometimes. It's not always exactly as TV portrays it, and like I said earlier, Hollywood has the fear factor. That's what they like.
Oh,
so
sure.
A lot of people are already pre-programmed to believe that a haunting is going to be dangerous or something malicious, when in fact it could be just a grandma or somebody's son or brother or daughter. So we started seeing this pattern of people becoming afraid very fast, but also attributing every little odd thing in the house to a ghost, when we had to go in there and basically separate that for them and ground them and make them understand that the fear is the biggest thing that they need to overcome, and then deal with what's going on there and look at it for what it is.
In your opinion, are adults or children, which one of these two groups, in your opinion, are having most of the paranormal events, hauntings, ghost sightings, and other aspects of the paranormal that you investigate?
We've been finding over the last couple of years, children really seem to be opening up at very young ages, if not being born open, and reporting, seeing, or hearing a lot more than adults do. But I'm hearing a lot from the metaphysical community, from a lot of different psychic mediums, that adults are also opening up now. They say we're in a time of awakening for a lot of people, and people who would not have noticed anything before are now starting to notice stuff. But I think children are so much more open anyway, and they're not told at that age that ghosts don't believe or ghosts don't exist yet, so they still believe that it's a possibility. But children, I think by far right now, are seeing and sensing a lot more when there is a legitimate haunting going on.
Out of the 100 cases, let's say, let me rephrase that. Based on your experience as a paranormal investigator, how do you see the percentages of credible paranormal events to self-induced paranormal events?
Boy, that's tough, because on almost every case there's a mix of both.
Really,
and that's where I talk about the ghost effect, where we really try to separate the normal stuff from the paranormal. For most of the people that I've been dealing with, very rarely do we go somewhere and there's nothing going on. Now, this is working with a psychic medium. Again, we actually have a great team of 3 mediums now that we work with, and they all work independently, and they're giving no information beforehand going out to any of our cases, but time after time we're able to validate all the information that they come up with, and their information matches historically what's happened at a location and backs up what the clients are reporting to us. But on occasion we do come across some cases where, you know, our medium will look at us and shake her head and say, nope, nothing happened in here, and we're not coming up with any physical activity whatsoever, and maybe we're able to rule some stuff out. That does happen, but I would say, probably 99% of our case where people are reporting stuff, our medium is going in there and finding stuff. And I think, again, that might be attributed to all these people who seem to be opening up a little bit psychically, or their sensitivity levels are up and they're able to sense stuff that wasn't there before.
Have you ever experienced any poltergeist activity?
I would have to say that house I had referred to in the Upper Darby case, without a doubt, would be considered poltergeist activity. You know, our medium felt that was caused by a human spirit mixed in with a little bit of a negative energy that was there because of some voodoo that may have occurred. But that was the number one case where the physical activity was just incredible. It was incredible to witness, and what we didn't witness directly, we caught on video and audio recorders. And that was something, like I said, I was able to see doors open and closing right in front of me. We had one investigator in the basement, and a camera was on her, and a coin dropped right out of thin air, and we tore the basement ceiling apart, and it was just rafters. That was it, and there were no other quarters that we could find. There were no holes in the floor. We went up above it. There were no slices in the carpet. It was all wall-to-wall carpeting. And another investigator stood there for about 10 minutes, and a second quarter fell right in the same spot. Then we walked upstairs and went into a bedroom. I shut the door and left it open about maybe 2 inches to see down the hallway. The door opened up and shut right in front of us, and I looked at my partner, Paul, and he looked at me. I shrugged my shoulders and opened the door, and there were 3 quarters right across the doorway there, the threshold, and, you know, just crazy stuff that, you know, we couldn't really explain at the time. And, you know, the only category we could put it into was poltergeist activity, just because there was so much of it, and it was a lot of items moving around the house.
You're going to find this a strange question, but what year were the quarters?
You know what? That's one thing we looked at. We wanted to know if there was a significance to a quarter, and were there any significance to the years.
Yeah.
And there weren't. It was just a mixed batch of quarters, new and old. I'm not really sure why. One thing I can say is we went into an upstairs room that it was a finished attic, split into 2 rooms and carpeted, and they had some bookshelves and a sitting room in one side and a drum set in the other side. And we went in and sat down in the little library they had, and I saw a quarter go flying across the other room, hit the wall, and drop on the floor, and immediately went to it and picked it up, and it was very warm. And even though we knew nobody was in the house, I still tore the place apart looking for somebody who had to throw that quarter. And nobody was there at all, but it was warm, which I found very significant too. But why quarters, I'm not really sure, and no significance to any years that we could establish.
Any prints on the quarters?
We didn't go that far.
Did you use an ultraviolet light to see if there was any type of residue or reflector on the quarters?
No, unfortunately, we don't have any ultraviolet equipment with us on that particular night. And we just had so much other audio and video evidence. We weren't necessarily looking for physical evidence beyond that. Our goal was primarily just to try to stop the activity for the people. And like your last guest there, I love the fact that they go out and they're working with new equipment and trying to come up with better ways to document, because that's the type of equipment that we work with. But our goal, more or less, is to concentrate on trying to identify the perpetrator and relieve the activity for the people. So, we did the best we can with just trying to document the physical activity, but we didn't have any ultraviolet equipment with us where we could look at that to pull anything off of it.
So what happened in this case? Were you able to identify the spirit, and were you able to exorcise it from the house?
Yeah, working with our psychic medium, she came up with 3 different things that she felt were in the house. She felt a very angry woman who was left in the home to raise a mentally handicapped child who grew into an adult, and her husband went away during World War II and never came back.
Oh, geez.
And her son had died at some point and also remained in the home, and that was a lot of the cause of the physical activity that was going on there. But there was also, like I said, a little bit of voodoo that might have happened there, and because of that, our medium believed that there was an attachment to the father in the home there. And they seem to have backed up what our medium had said. They had thought that themselves, that was a possibility before we came. And that one took a little bit more work, because the mom and her son were easily released from the home, and our medium worked on them rather quickly. But this attachment, it takes a little time sometimes to get rid of attachments. And this one, there was a lot of work that was needed by the man in the house there to try to disconnect this attachment. So our medium had worked with him over a course of, I believe it was a couple of years to break that attachment.
Do you ever work with the clergy?
I had a great experience with a priest out of a Catholic church. I can't exactly say where. I've been asked not to.
Sure. No problem.
Relate where he works, but he had come out there at my request to help the family. We were doing an investigation, and I asked him if he would come out to do a blessing for the family, and he came out on their behalf. And our psychic medium had actually picked up his mom, who had passed over, and started giving information on him. And it was such an emotional event for him that he had gone and talked to his bishop, and the bishop, basically asked if he thought our team was helpful to the family, and if, we were helpful to him relaying that information through our medium, and he said yes. So the bishop, they gave him permission basically to, outside the church, go and assist us anytime we needed any help from the church. So it was really a great time for us to have the Catholic Church to actually agree to come in and help like that. We've worked with a few independent Catholic priests before who've come in and done some exorcisms of homes for us, and I think that's about it. I've put a lot of requests out for a lot of other religions to get involved here, and frankly, it's kind of tough to get help from religions, and I'm not sure if it's because of lack of knowledge of what to do, or they're just unsure about going into a situation like that. But a lot of times it's tough to get clergy to come out and help.
How do you protect yourself from bringing one of these negative entities back home with you?
Well, luckily, over the course of about 7 or 8 years now, we've only had that happen one time to one of our members. But we do take some precautions before going out on a case. We do some prayers individually, and as a group, our psychic medium does some, she'll call them psychic self-defense techniques to protect us all. And then at the end of the night, we will do sort of a cleansing of the group and some more prayer work, and try to basically envision, if you will, cut any ties to the location or to anything that may have attached itself to us. And she says she'll do a little psychic scan to see if anything's following us home, and usually we get the thumbs up.
Mark, our time is nearly up. First of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a great hour. What final words do you have for the listeners of the X-Zone Radio Show tonight when it comes to investigating the paranormal, the do's and the don'ts?
Well, definitely don't dive into something that you're not aware of what you're doing. Something that is very seemingly innocent can turn semi-negative on you, if not very negative on you, just because of the intent of what you're doing. You have to have a particular intent in preparation for what you do. And I'd also just like to say to the people who are looking for help, there are resolution teams out there that can help. When you're looking for a team, go on their website, see if you can get references, ask questions, make sure they can resolve cases for you. There's a lot of teams that are great at gathering evidence and documenting what's going on, but they can't necessarily stop it. So you have to make sure you're getting what you're asking for when you call a team. So if you're looking for resolution and having the activity stop, just ask. Any reputable team will be happy to give you references and let you know what they can do and can't do.
And I'm sure that if people are really caught in a bind, they can go to your website, www.theppa.net, which is the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association. Once again, that's www.theppa.net. And I'm sure you or your colleagues would be more than happy to point them in the right direction.
Absolutely. If we can't help them ourselves, we can definitely try to get them an appropriate team to come out there and help.
Marco, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I love what you do, and whether you're out there doing paranormal investigations or wearing the shield, protecting the public and serving the public, take care of yourself and be safe.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to serve, and it's been an honor to come on the show. Thank you.
Hope to have you back on in the future.
Oh, it'd be great to come back.
All right, take care, partner. X-Zone Nation, Mark Allan Keyes has been our guest this hour. www.theppa.net. That's www.theppa.net. You know what I love about this guy? He serves and protects the public during the day or whenever he's on shift, whenever he's carrying his badge. And then he serves and protects the public when it comes to the unseen, the world of the paranormal. He makes a difference. That's what life is all about. After all, I keep on telling you folks, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Well, that's it for tonight, X-Zone Nation. I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight. I'd like to thank all our guests. And remember, if there's some way that you can help someone out there, please do, whether it's going into the food bank and, bringing some supplies, or going through the house, getting clothes that are kind of just being not used, bring them to a shelter. If you can dip into your pocket or your wallet and help out, there's always many ways. Even saying hello to someone, helping a senior citizen carry their groceries, opening the doors, smiling at people, saying hello. Show the world that you care. Make a positive difference. So until tomorrow night, take care of each other and always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.